Yuna woke up to the sound of birds singing outside her window. It was a normal morning on New Bizin, a human colony far away from Earth. The sky was blue and the air smelled like fresh grass. She stretched her arms and got out of bed. Her younger brother, Do-hyun, was already in the kitchen. He was eating rice and looking at his tablet. He was 15 years old and always hungry. Yuna smiled at him and sat down. "Good morning," she said. "Morning," he replied without looking up. Their grandmother Yoonji came into the kitchen. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She had lived on Earth when she was young. Now she lived here with her grandchildren. Their parents had died in a mining accident 3 years ago. "Eat well today," Yoonji said. "You have a long day at the farms." Yuna nodded. She was 19 years old and worked at the hydroponic farms. She grew vegetables and fruits for the colony. It was simple work, but she liked it. She liked watching things grow. After breakfast, Yuna walked to work. The colony was beautiful. There were white buildings and green parks. Children played in the streets. People smiled and said hello to each other. 20,000 humans lived here. It was a peaceful place. Yuna arrived at the farm and started her work. She checked the water levels. She looked at the tomato plants. She pulled out some weeds. The morning passed quickly. Then everything changed. At noon, a loud alarm rang across the colony. Yuna stopped working and looked up. Other workers did the same. The alarm meant danger. It had never rung before. "What is happening?" Someone asked. Why Yuna ran outside. She looked at the sky. Her heart stopped. A massive ship was coming down from the clouds. It was bigger than anything she had ever seen. It was dark gray and shaped like a giant blade. It blocked the sun and cast a shadow over the whole colony. People started screaming. Some ran to their homes. Others stood frozen in fear. Yuna could not move. She just watched the ship come closer and closer. The ship stopped above the central plaza. It made no sound. It just floated there like a mountain in the sky. Yuna's tablet beeped. A message appeared on the screen. It was from the colony leader, a man named Taiho. The message said everyone should come to the plaza. It said to stay calm. Yuna ran home first. She found Do-hyun and Yoonji standing outside their house. They were looking at the sky with wide eyes. "What is that?" Do-hyun asked. His voice was shaking. "I do not know," Yuna said. "But we need to go to the plaza." The colony leader called everyone. They walked together through the streets. Thousands of people were going the same way. Everyone was quiet. Everyone was afraid. When they reached the plaza, Yuna saw something that made her blood turn cold. Aliens were standing in the center. They were tall and covered in dark scales. They had 4 arms and red eyes. They wore black armor that looked like metal bones. Each one carried a weapon that glowed with purple light. There were about 50 of them. They stood in perfect lines like soldiers. They did not move. They did not speak. They just watched the humans gather. Yuna had heard stories about aliens. She knew that humans were not alone in the galaxy, but she had never seen one before. And these aliens looked dangerous. Colony leader Taiho walked forward. He was a middle-aged man with a calm face, but Yuna could see his hands shaking. "Welcome to New Bizin," Taiho said. His voice was loud but not steady. "We are peaceful people. We mean you no harm." One of the aliens stepped forward. He was taller than the others. His scales were darker, almost black. He wore a cape made of something that looked like red leather. This was clearly their leader. "I am General Kor of the Vraken Empire," the alien said. His voice was deep and cold. "We have come to judge your species." The crowd murmured in fear. "Judge? What did that mean?" "The Vraken Empire rules over 100 star systems," General Kor continued. We have met many species. Most of them were weak. They became our slaves. Some of them were strong. They became our allies. Today, we will learn what humans are. Taiho tried to speak. General, we are a small colony. We have no army. We have no weapons. We just want to live in peace. General Kor laughed. It was a terrible sound. Peace is for the weak. The strong do not ask for peace. They take what they want. He looked around at the humans. His red eyes showed no kindness. No mercy. Tomorrow we will hold a trial, he said. One human will fight one of my warriors. If your champion shows courage, we will respect your species. If your champion begs for mercy, your entire colony will become our slaves. This is the Raken way. The crowd exploded in panic. People cried. People shouted. Some tried to run away, but had nowhere to go. Yuna stood still. She looked at General Kor. She looked at his soldiers. She felt fear in her heart, but she also felt something else. Something hot and bright. Anger. These aliens came to their home. They threatened their families. They wanted to make them slaves. And they thought humans would just give up? Yuna clenched her fists. Her nails dug into her palms. She did not know what tomorrow would bring. But she knew one thing for certain. She was not going to beg. Not now. Not ever. The sun set behind the alien ship. Darkness fell over the colony. And somewhere in the crowd, a young girl made a silent promise to herself. Whatever happened next, she would face it standing up. That night, nobody in the colony could sleep. Yuna sat on her bed and stared at the ceiling. She could hear Do-young crying in the next room. She could hear her grandmother praying softly. Outside, the alien ship still floated in the sky. Its lights blinked red and purple in the darkness. It was a constant reminder that everything had changed. Yuna thought about her parents. They had been brave people. When the mining accident happened, they had helped save 30 workers before the tunnel collapsed on them. They died as heroes. What would they do now? What would they say? She knew the answer. They would not give up. They would fight. The morning came too quickly. The colony alarm rang again, calling everyone to the plaza. Yuna got dressed and went to the kitchen. Do-hyun and Yoonji were already there. Their faces were pale and tired. Maybe we should hide, Do-hyun said. Maybe we can escape to the mountains. There is no escape, Yoonji said quietly. Their ship can see everything. We must face this. Yuna put her hand on her brother's shoulder. Stay with grandmother. I will go to the plaza and see what happens. I am coming with you, Do-hyun said quickly. No, stay here. I am not a child anymore. His voice cracked. You always try to protect me, but I can protect myself. Yuna looked at him. He was growing up so fast. He looked so much like their father. Fine, she said, but stay close to me. They walked to the plaza together. Yoonji came too. She said she was too old to hide. The plaza was already full of people. Everyone looked scared. Some people were crying. Some people were holding hands with their families. Some people stood alone, their eyes empty. The alien stood in the center again. General Kor waited on a raised platform. Next to him was another alien, bigger than all the others. This one had scars all over his body. His eyes were yellow, not red. He looked like a monster from a nightmare. Colony leader Taiho stood in front of the aliens. He looked like he had not slept at all. People of New Busan, Taiho said, his voice tired. General Kor has explained the rules of their trial. One human must fight their champion in single combat. We do not need to win. We just need to show courage. We cannot beg for mercy. If we do, we all become slaves. The crowd was silent. General Kor stepped forward. He pointed at the scarred alien beside him. "This is Drex," the general said. "He is our greatest warrior. He has fought in 47 trials. No species has ever beaten him. Most of them begged within minutes. A few lasted hours before breaking." Drex smiled. His teeth were sharp like knives. "Drex does not just beat his enemies," General Kor continued. "He breaks them. He makes them feel pain until they have no pride left. Until they crawl on the ground and cry for mercy." Yuna felt sick. She looked at Drex's massive arms. Each one was thicker than her whole body. His claws were long and black. How could any human fight him? Taiho turned to the crowd. "We need a volunteer. Someone to represent humanity in this trial. Someone who will not give up no matter what." Nobody moved. The seconds passed. They felt like hours. People looked at each other. The soldiers in the crowd looked at their feet. The young men stayed quiet. The old men looked away. Yuna understood. Everyone was afraid. Everyone thought they would break. Nobody wanted to be the one who turned all humans into slaves. But if nobody volunteered, what would happen? Would the aliens just take them anyway? She looked at Doyen. He was so young. He had his whole life ahead of him. She looked at her grandmother. She had already suffered so much thought she thought about the other children in the colony. The families. The people who had worked so hard to build this place. Someone had to stand up. Someone had to try. Before she knew what she was doing, Yuna stepped forward. "I will do it." Her voice was not loud, but in the silence, everyone heard it. The crowd gasped. People turned to look at her. Do-hyun grabbed her arm. "No," he shouted. "Yuna, no! You cannot!" Yoonji's face went white. "Child, what are you doing?" Yuna gently removed Do-hyun's hand. "Someone has to go. And I am not going to watch everyone wait in fear." Taiho rushed over to her. "You are just a farm worker. You have no training. You do not know how to fight. Does it matter?" Yuna asked. "Their warrior is 7 feet tall with 4 arms. No human can beat him. But maybe a human can refuse to break. Maybe that is enough." The aliens started laughing. General Kor's voice boomed across the plaza. "This is your champion? A little girl?" He shook his head. "Humans are even weaker than I thought. This trial will be over in seconds." Drex looked at Yuna like she was an insect. Something small and easy to crush. Yuna looked back at him. Her heart was beating fast. Her legs wanted to run. But she forced herself to stand still. "I may be small," she said, "but I am not weak. And I will never beg." Drex tilted his head. For a moment, something like curiosity crossed his face. Then it disappeared. "We will see," he said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. They all say that at first. They all break in the end. Yuna felt Do-hyun crying beside her. She felt her grandmother's hand on her back. "The trial will begin at sunset," General Kor announced. "Prepare your champion." Not that it will help. The aliens returned to their ship. The crowd slowly left the plaza. But Yuna stayed where she was. She had a few hours left. A few hours to prepare for something that seemed impossible. She did not know how to fight. She did not know how to beat a monster. But she knew one thing. She was going to make her family proud. She was going to show these aliens what humans were made of, even if it killed her. The sun began to set. The sky turned orange and red, like it was on fire. Yuna stood at the edge of the plaza and watched the colors change. In a few minutes, she would fight for her life. Colony leader Taiho had tried to train her in the afternoon. He showed her how to dodge, how to roll on the ground, how to use her small size as a weapon. But they both knew it was not enough. A few hours could not prepare anyone for what was coming. Do-hyun had not stopped crying all day. He begged her not to go. He said he would volunteer instead. But Yuna refused. She was his older sister. It was her job to protect him. Grandmother Yoonji had been quiet. She had spent the afternoon cooking Yuna's favorite meal, rice with vegetables and fried fish. It was simple food, but it tasted like home. It tasted like love. Before Yuna left for the plaza, Yoonji held her face with both hands. "Your mother and father are watching you from somewhere," the old woman said. "They are proud of you. I am proud of you. Whatever happens tonight, you are already a hero." Yuna hugged her grandmother tight. She tried not to cry. Now she stood in the plaza. The Vrakan soldiers had formed a large circle. Inside the circle was an arena made of hard dirt. This was where the fight would happen. Thousands of humans surrounded the arena. They stood in silence. Some held candles. Some held pictures of their families. They were all watching Yuna. On the other side of the arena, Drex was waiting. He was stretching his forearms. His muscles moved under his dark scales like snakes. His yellow eyes glowed in the fading light. General Kor stood on his platform above the crowd. "The trial begins now," he announced. "The rules are simple. The fight continues until one side surrenders or dies. There are no weapons allowed. Only body against body. Begin." A loud horn sounded. Yuna walked into the arena. Her heart was pounding. Her mouth was dry, but she kept her head high. Drex walked toward her slowly. He was in no hurry. He knew he would win. "Little human," he said, "I will give you one chance. Kneel now and beg. I will make your pain short." Yuna shook her head. "No." Drex smiled his sharp smile. "Good. I prefer it when they fight. It makes breaking them more fun." He moved. Yuna had never seen anything so fast. One moment he was far away. The next moment he was right in front of her. His claw swung toward her face. She ducked. The claw passed over her head so close she felt the wind. She rolled to the side and jumped back up. Her heart was racing. The crowd gasped. They had expected her to fall immediately. Drex looked at her with surprise. Then he attacked again. His forearms came at her from all directions. Yuna dodged the first one. She ducked under the second one. But the third one hit her shoulder. Pain exploded through her body. She flew backward and hit the ground hard. The crowd screamed. Yuna tasted blood in her mouth. Her shoulder felt like it was on fire. But she forced herself to stand up. Drex laughed. "You are faster than I expected. But speed will not save you. Nothing will save you." He attacked again. And again. And again. Yuna could not fight back. She could only try to survive. She dodged when she could. She rolled when she had to. When his claws hit her, she just took the pain and got back up. An hour passed. Yuna was covered in blood. Her left arm hung at a strange angle. It was probably broken. She had cuts on her face and body. Every breath hurt. But she was still standing. The Vrakans had stopped laughing. They watched in silence now. Drex was breathing hard. Not because he was tired, but because he was angry. This little human girl was supposed to break. She was supposed to cry and beg. But she just kept getting up. "Why do you not give up?" He growled. "You cannot win. You must know that." Yuna spit blood on the ground. "I know I cannot win, but I can keep standing. That is enough." She charged at him. It was a foolish move. He caught her easily with one of his arms. He lifted her off the ground and squeezed. She felt her ribs crack. "Beg," he said. She could barely breathe. The pain was everywhere. But she looked into his yellow eyes and said one word: "No." He threw her across the arena. She hit the ground and rolled in the dirt. For a moment, everything went dark. When she opened her eyes, she saw the stars above. Night had fallen. How long had she been fighting? 2 hours? 3? She heard Do-hyun screaming her name from the crowd. She heard her grandmother praying. Slowly, painfully, she pushed herself up. The crowd was crying. Not from fear anymore. From something else. Something like hope. Drex stood in the center of the arena. For the first time, he did not look amused. He looked confused. He looked almost worried. "You should be broken by now," he said quietly. "Every other species broke long before this." "What are you?" Yuna stood on shaking legs. Her vision was blurry. Her body was screaming at her to stop, but she smiled. "I am human," she said, "and we do not break." She raised her fists and waited for the next attack. The moon rose high above the arena. Hours had passed since the fight began. The candles in the crowd had burned down to nothing. But nobody had left. Nobody could look away. Yuna was barely alive. She had stopped counting her injuries long ago. Her left arm was definitely broken. Several ribs were cracked. One of her eyes was swollen shut. Blood covered her face like a red mask, but she was still standing. Every time she fell, she got back up. Every time Drex knocked her down, she found a way to rise. It was not strength anymore. It was something deeper. Something in her bones. Something in her soul. The Vraken soldiers had grown completely silent. They had never seen anything like this. They had watched Drex break warriors twice his size. They had seen mighty generals fall to their knees and cry. But this small human girl refused to stay down. General Kor sat on his platform with his hands folded. His red eyes never left Yuna. His expression was impossible to read. Drex stood in the center of the arena, breathing hard. Not from tiredness. He could fight for days without rest. No, he was breathing hard from something else. Something he had never felt before. Doubt. How was this possible? She was tiny. She was weak. She had no armor, no weapons, no special powers. She was just a farm girl from a small colony. But she would not break. He had hit her hundreds of times. He had thrown her across the arena. He had cracked her bones and torn her skin. Any other creature would have given up after the first hour. But she kept coming back. What were these humans made of? Drex walked toward her slowly. Yuna watched him come. She could barely see through her one good eye. Her legs were shaking so hard she thought they might collapse. But she stood her ground. "This is your last chance," Drex said. His voice was quieter now, almost respectful. "You have fought well, better than anyone I have ever faced. But you cannot continue. Your body is broken. One more hit and you will die." Yuna said nothing. She just watched him. Drex raised one of his massive claws. It was covered in her blood. "Kneel," he said. "Say the words. Beg for mercy and I will end this quickly. You have nothing left to prove. Your courage is clear. But the trial requires submission. That is the only way to end it without death." The crowd held its breath. Yuna's grandmother had collapsed hours ago from the stress. Do-hyun held her in his arms, tears streaming down his face. Watching his sister face death, Yuna looked up at Drex. Then she looked at the sky. The stars were beautiful tonight. Millions of tiny lights shining in the darkness. She thought about her parents. She thought about their last moments in that collapsing tunnel. Did they feel afraid? Or did they feel at peace, knowing they had done the right thing? She thought about Do-hyun, her little brother who drove her crazy sometimes, who ate too much and complained too often, but who also had the kindest heart she had ever known. She thought about her grandmother, the woman who had raised them after their parents died, who had taught them about Earth and its history, who had told them stories about humans, who faced impossible odds and never gave up. And she thought about all the humans watching her now. The families, the children, the old people who remembered Earth, the young people who had never seen it. All of them were counting on her. She could not let them down. Yuna straightened her back. It hurt more than anything she had ever felt. But she stood as tall as she could. "No," she said. Her voice was small and broken. But in the silent arena, everyone heard it. Drex's eyes widened. "No," she said again, stronger this time. "I will not kneel. I will not beg. I do not know how to do those things. And even if I did, I would not do them. Not for you. Not for anyone." She took a step forward. Just one small step. But it was a step toward Drex, not away from him. "You want to know what humans are made of?" She continued. This is what we are made of. We are small. We are weak. We break easily and heal slowly. But we do not give up. We do not surrender. When we fall, we get back up. When we are afraid, we stand anyway. She took another step. She was close enough to touch him now. "You can kill me," she said, looking up into his yellow eyes. "Your claw can end my life right now. But you will never hear me beg. And if this is what one human girl can do, imagine what the rest of us are capable of. Imagine what billions of us could do." She smiled. Blood ran down her face, but she smiled. "So go ahead. Finish it. But know this. You may win the fight, but you will never break me. And that is something your empire has never faced before." Drex stood frozen. His claw was still raised. One strike would end everything. But he did not move. The seconds stretched into eternity. The whole universe seemed to hold its breath. And then, slowly, Drex lowered his claw. He took a step back. Then another. He looked at Yuna with eyes that had changed. The contempt was gone. The cruelty was gone. Something new was there. Instead, respect. Drex placed all four of his arms across his chest. He bowed his head. It was a gesture that only Vrakins knew. A gesture reserved for those they considered equal. "I yield," he said quietly. The arena exploded in noise. Humans screamed. Vrakins shouted. Nobody understood what was happening. But Yuna understood. She had won. Her legs finally gave out. She fell to the ground. But she fell with a smile on her face. She had not broken. She had not begged. She had shown them what humans were made of. Yuna woke up in a white room. For a moment, she thought she was dead. Maybe this was what came after. Just quiet and white light. Then the pain hit her. Her whole body screamed with it. She was definitely not dead. Dead people did not hurt this much. She turned her head slowly and saw Dohyun sitting beside her bed. His eyes were red from crying. When he saw her open her eyes, his face broke into the biggest smile she had ever seen. "You are awake," he said. His voice cracked. "You are actually awake. How long?" Yuna whispered. Her throat was dry. 3 days. The doctor said you might not wake up at all. You had so many broken bones. So much internal bleeding. They said it was a miracle you survived the fight at all. Yuna tried to smile. Her face hurt too much. And the trial? And the trial? What happened? You do not remember? She remembered pieces. The arena. The blood. Drex's yellow eyes. His claw coming down toward her. And then, nothing. The door opened. Grandmother Yunji walked in carrying a bowl of soup. When she saw Yuna awake, she nearly dropped it. "Child," she said, rushing to the bed. Tears ran down her wrinkled face. "Oh, my brave child." She held Yuna's hand gently. Her hands were shaking. "You did it," Yunji said. "You saved us all." Over the next few hours, Yuna learned what had happened after she collapsed. Drex had yielded. It was the first time in Vraken history that a warrior had yielded in a trial of worth. General Kor had come down from his platform. He had walked across the arena and stood over Yuna's broken body. The humans thought he was going to kill her. Many screamed. Some rushed forward to protect her, but General Kor did not attack. Instead, he knelt beside her. He studied her face for a long time. Then he stood up and addressed everyone. "In my long life, I have conquered many worlds," he had said. "I have seen many species face our trials. All of them broke. All of them begged. I believed that weakness was natural, that all creatures would choose slavery over pain." He looked at Yuna lying on the ground. "This girl has proven me wrong. She has no army, no weapons, no special strength. But she has something more valuable, something I thought was a myth. She has an unbreakable spirit." He turned to his soldiers. "The Vraken Empire does not enslave the worthy. And today, humanity has proven itself worthy. Not through power, through courage, through will, through the simple refusal to surrender." The alien ship had left that same night. Before they went, General Kor had sent a message to all Vraken worlds. The message was simple. Humans were not to be attacked. They were not to be enslaved. They were to be respected. Words spread quickly, not just through the Vraken Empire, but through the entire galaxy. The story of the human girl who faced a monster and refused to break traveled from star to star. Other species heard the story. Species who had been conquered. Species who lived in fear. They whispered a new word to each other in the darkness. Human thought the word meant something different now. It meant hope. 2 weeks later, Yuna was finally able to walk again. Her arm was still in a cast. Her ribs were still healing, but she could move on her own. She walked outside her house for the first time since the trial. The sun was warm on her face. The sky was blue and peaceful. Everything looked the same as before, but everything was different. People stopped to look at her. Children pointed. Adults bowed their heads in respect. Nobody called her Yuna anymore. They had a new name for her, the girl who did not break. Colony leader Taiho came to see her. He brought news from Earth. The human government wanted to thank her. They wanted to give her medals and honors. They wanted her to travel across human space as a symbol. Yuna shook her head. "I am just a farm worker," she said. "I want to go back to my plants." Taiho smiled. He understood. That evening, Yuna sat on the hill behind her house. DownHFY sat beside her. They watched the sun go down together. "Are you really going back to the farms?" DownHFY asked. "Yes. But you are famous now. You could do anything. Go anywhere." Yuna nodded. "I know, but I do not want fame. I do not want to be a symbol. I just did what anyone would do. I stood up for my family, for my people. That is all." DownHFY was quiet for a moment. "I want to be like you when I grow up," he said softly. "I want to be brave." Yuna put her good arm around his shoulder. "You already are brave. You wanted to fight instead of me. That took courage, but I was scared." "So was I," Yuna said. "Being brave does not mean having no fear. It means being afraid and standing up anyway. That is what being human is about." They watched the stars appear one by one. Somewhere out there, on distant worlds, other species were learning about humanity for the first time. They were learning that these strange two-armed creatures from a small blue planet had something special. Not strength, not technology, not weapons. Just a simple refusal to give up. Yuna looked at the stars and thought about the future. Someday, humans would meet more aliens. Some would be friendly. Some would be dangerous. But whatever came, humans would face it together. They would face it standing up, because that was what humans did. The story of Yuna spread across the galaxy for generations. Parents told their children. Leaders remembered her example. And whenever anyone asked what made humans special, the answer was always the same: courage is not the absence of fear. It is standing anyway. And humans? Humans always stand. The end.